I remember last time we stopped here when we discussed the property management systems. We showed a few examples of property management systems, right, with the legacy system, Opera. We discussed a little bit OnQ and show you Agilysys systems, right? So there's a bunch of new vendors coming up in the market with new products that are better integrated, that are designed with a nicer way of allowing the systems to communicate to one another. So that's really important because even though, again, we work with low margins in the hotel industry and we already have legacy systems that work just fine, it's difficult to integrate new systems in the old infrastructure. Sometimes it's better to just start from scratch and design something new altogether, right? Despite the fact that the things are working. I've seen this philosophy blended within different applications through my life. So for example, if you go to Prague in the Czech Republic or cities like Dresden or Munich, you will see old trams, right? Old like light rail trains that were made in the 50s. And they were properly maintained and they were designed to last a long time and they're still working. And to the same infrastructure, they added the modern trains and stuff like that. But and you can still use the old asset within the new infrastructure. And I've seen other cities adopting a completely opposite direction for this. They would design something completely new. They will discard the existing infrastructure, start something new from scratch, right? So the same logic applies here. You'll find the old legacy platforms still being integrated with new items, but more and more hotels, especially the new brands of hotels like citizenM and so on, they design systems that are based on this new vision for the architecture. Everything is brand new and it's more efficient, right? Systems communicate better with one another. They're more resourceful and things like that. Now, again, when we decide upon these, we have to also think about, again, resources, what you'll need to spend to get the system, but also the maintenance of the system and stuff like that. One of the concepts that emerges today, I think it was borrowed from the auto industry. You remember the gas guzzlers, right? Remember those? What is the gas guzzler? Right, it's a big car that consumes a lot of gasoline, right? Think about this and make the analogy to computer systems. What is a data guzzler? A system that provides a lot of data, that stores, that it's heavy to maintain because of the data that it requires, right? So we see a lot of these older systems, they record a lot of information. And for us, the humans, it's difficult to manage and to analyze all that information, especially in the hotel industry where we don't have enough manpower and so on. So there's two ways to the future. One is to design systems that are new and they integrate better and they're more lean in the data and the opportunities that you guys are facing. Learn a little bit of coding and a little bit, be comfortable around the computer systems, and you will be the people to manage all of these systems that analyze the data, that respond to customers, and so on. Right? I mean, there's amazing opportunity for you guys. I'm excited for you as I were younger, again, your age, and facing all of this stuff. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So anyway, to come back to our systems, in general, a PMS system will have four main interfaces, allowing it to connect to other systems. And again, some systems do this better than others. First of all is the real-time interface with the distribution systems, okay? We call it global distribution system with the CRSs, right? Central reservation systems, right? So there's always a live interface between your property management system that you have installed on your property, right? That you have available to your staff, and whatever happens on the retail side, right? So for example, somebody makes a reservation for your hotel. You work at a hotel. Someone makes a reservation for your hotel through the mobile app or through Expedia or through some other platform where they sell these rooms. You should be able to see that reservation immediately on your end, right? That's what it means, real-time integration. And if you have that integration, if it's seamless, that allows you to make better decisions regarding your inventory. You understand the dynamics of supply and demand. You can play with the rate better, right? I mean, you don't leave money on the table. You provide the right value for your guests, right? So that's really important. Now think about this. This is done easier, I should say, yeah, relatively easier in systems that are leaner and more designed for better integration, right? Have you ever heard of this concept SaaS. You heard of it, right? We talked a little bit about it in class, right? Software as a service. That's absolutely true, right? So imagine these PMS systems really heavy data guzzlers, right? Really heavy in terms of maintenance, in terms of learning tools and stuff like that. And by the way, when you have training, when you have data integration, when you have management, a management approach that relies on that information, it's very important to have a system that allows you to have all the data in front of you. So a lot of these systems are designed today to take advantage of the internet, especially the Internet of Things, to have a lot of things connected to it so that you allow the management the opportunity to manage the property better with that information. So the concept of SaaS, right, comes into play because you don't have to have a big legacy system, deployed or installed on your property that you care about, that you install on your servers and you have to maintain it. That stuff is going away. Instead, you still have access to PMS applications, point-of-sale applications, but they're provided to you as a subscription. So as long as you're connected to the internet and you pay a subscription, you can access these systems. You don't have to install them on your servers. You just access them, and all the data will be migrated to the cloud, right? And it's seamless. You don't have to care about maintenance or anything. Security is all taken care of on their side. You just utilize it. It's a similar concept to all of these, for example, music subscription systems, right? Like Apple Music and what else is there? Spotify, Pandora, right? So all these systems basically are based on the same logic. Instead of you downloading stuff and maintain it and curate it, right, on your end, you allow them to do that, and you just access it. And now it's assumed that everybody has access to the internet, and that logic becomes much more easy. So think about this. Real-time interfacing is really probably the most important part. It might be even on the quiz, if I'm not mistaken, right? So real-time interfacing is really important, and software as a service also becomes an important part of this. Activities management system, right? It doesn't apply to all the hotels, but sometimes you'll have hotels and resorts where people go to the room and say, now what? I want to do something. What can I do? I can engage in stuff, right? So it will be very convenient for the guest to go to the front desk and say, hey, I want to go on a tour of the city. I want to book an event or something like that. And that allows you, as a hotel, to provide better value to the customers if you integrate that into the property management system. And that is possible. Again, not for all the hotels, because not all the hotels are designed to do this, to offer this to their guests, but sometimes they are designed. Built-in revenue and yield management tools. That's another area of opportunity hotel industry is discovering. Revenue management, yield management, right? All these tools that allow the hotel to manage the rate according to the supply and demand patterns of the consumers, right? So you don't just put a rate and leave it there for a number of days. You just adapt the rate, right? If there's more demand for the rate, what do you do with the rate? You increase it, right? If it's low demand, you just lower it down a little bit to stimulate the demand, right? Because people react very predictably to economic incentives, right? If there's something economically feasible for them, they will take it, right? So building revenue, yield management tools, right? Those are absolutely amazing concepts, and the hotels are embracing them more and more. The airline industry demonstrated absolutely amazing use of these tools, right? To the point where customers cannot beat or anticipate the yield management systems, right? And the same thing is happening in hotels, right? The rate is changing. There's always this fluctuation in rate based on the strategies of the company. And of course, in incorporation within the enterprise, okay? Enterprise means all the other systems that are not necessarily seen or not necessarily facing the consumers, but they're very important to the well-functioning of the hospitality or the hotel or resort enterprise, right? So back office applications, accounting, time and attendance management systems, right? Those systems that allow you to punch in at work with your fingerprint, right? Just go in and you sign in for work today, you clock in, and that data goes directly into a system that allows you to see everything very properly, right? So all of these are key interfaces. They're Really, really important for us to understand. It integrates all the data into the PMS system, so it's easier for someone who works with the system to make decisions that are well informed, and they are the best decisions. This is a complicated slide. I'm not going to go through it. It's too complicated for me, so we'll just skip it. I want to talk about other systems, okay? I want to talk about other systems. And these are, this is important, but I'm still going to skip it. We kind of talked about it. I want to talk about the systems that will add value to the customers, and they're facing the customer. For the longest time, we viewed, and that was back in the day, right? We viewed the customers as, the customers come on the property, and we offer them all the services. They don't have to do anything for themselves, right? They provide into the service experience, we provide the service to them. So that's really cool, okay? And now they learned, right? The hoteliers have learned from other areas of service industry, right? They say, well, look at McDonald's, how successful they have been. How have they been successful? They minimize the time of service. How is it possible to do that? Well, by breaking the legacy models, right? You don't have to be seated in a McDonald's. There's no server coming to you to take your order, right? There's nobody cleaning after you leave the table and so on. No, the customers are doing that. The customers don't mind to do that because now, even if they take the food to the table, stay there and eat it and clean after themselves, it's still going to take shorter than in a normal legacy restaurant, right? So the consumers, they're happy with this model. And they said, well, we can adapt this into multiple other settings. We'll let the consumers be part of the experience themselves, right? In marketing, you'll hear, they'll say, hey, the consumer is part of a product. True? Absolutely true, right? It depends also on you, how you view the product and how you engage in the experience, to have a successful hospitality experience, especially in hotels where the product is relatively complex. So for that reason, you are likely to see a lot of applications in a hotel that deal with this, that allow you as a consumer to take control over certain aspects of the service, okay? And you'll say, sure, I don't mind to check in using a kiosk, although sometimes I would like to interact with someone, to just say hi. That's our hospitable way. But there are certain things that I like to explore on my own, and the systems are designed properly, right? They're going to create good value for me. I'm going to be excited to use them, right? Plus, I think there are just a lot of opportunity for us to allow consumers to choose whatever they like. Some people like to interact with the staff. That's fine. Some people don't like to interact with staff. Sometimes, in the course of a trip, I just want to be left alone, right? And I can interact with the hotels because I need some tasks to be completed, but I can interact with the technology. So for that reason, we'll see a lot of technologies that are being deployed to help consumers to receive a better value, okay? So we have these, for example, comfort systems, electronic clocks, climate control, privacy types of systems. Sometimes they integrate multiple tasks into one system, or they integrate multiple systems to perform these multitude tasks. People want to have a nice experience, and they learned from a lot of retailers that atmospherics are really critical, right, to that. Even in places where you're not supposed to have an atmosphere, a nice atmosphere, now they developed one, right? So you look at the 787 planes, right? The Dreamliners, the Airbus 350, the Airbus A380, right? All these planes that are designed recently with mood lighting, right? So you fly in a plane, a trans-Pacific or transatlantic flight, and the lights will change according to the time at the destination where you're traveling to help your body adjust better, right? They do that for a purpose, and one of the sub-purposes is to just make people feel nicer in the small space of an airplane. But they've done this in retail, right? So you go to places like Best Buy or any retail store at the shopping mall, and you really get into the atmospherics and enhance that experience. In hotels, they do that too, right? So controlling the temperature in the room in a way that's efficient, controlling the lighting, turning on the TV and stuff like that, that's really critical right now, right? Especially controlling the climate in the room, but keeping in mind energy savings, that's really critical. So now they have systems where they keep the room at a certain idle temperature, right? Not your favorite temperature when you actually enter the room, but they know when you're coming, right? So your phone will send a message to the PMS system. The PMS system is integrated with the climate control system of the hotel, and that system receives a message that you're coming, and then it will start adjusting the temperature. It will be just right for your arrival, right? So that's interesting. I think that will be a point of customization in the future. Privacy, of course, it's very important to have privacy. It's one of our primary concerns, right? We want people to feel really well protected and the privacy to be intact in hotels. And unfortunately, there are all sorts of incidents that have happened, and from a privacy point of view, hotels now take measures to protect people's privacy, right? So yeah, you hear incidents like someone calling the hotel and asking, hey, has Christian Morrison checked in yet? And the person at the desk being hospitalized say, oh yeah, sure. Do you want me to transfer to his room? No. I don't want to hear about that person asking about me unless it's a friend of mine that I know, right? Or someone in my family or something like that, right? So privacy is very important. There will be a lot of systems developed. We can talk more about that in further lessons. Look at this system, right? And you'll see more of these. This is a tablet that has a software that allows you to control certain aspects of your room atmospherics, right? So you can adjust the lighting, you can adjust the drapes, the temperature, and so on. You can turn on the TV, you can flip channels and things like that throughout that particular iPad. And I think that's really interesting, right? I mean, it provides you with a level of comfort that is not expected. Maybe not every customer has it in their homes, but it's absolutely cool. One important aspect about these is that they're really playful, right? It allows the consumers to interact really spontaneously with them, and as a result, people shop for more items and stuff like that. There's a system created by Intelity, interactive consumer experience or something like that. That's the marketing name for it. And they say this system, when they placed it in hotel rooms, people were so excited about them. They looked at all the food service options that they had. And the food service options, the food service orders placed through these devices from the rooms increased about 40%. Right? I mean, that's amazing from a sales point of view. People just like to play. And again, remember when we talked about persuasion and online commerce and all that stuff, right? It's enough to see a nice picture of a food item, and that's persuasive enough. Without any human interaction, some people will actually end up buying that product. Okay? So keep in mind, these are systems that are coming there. Enjoyment, right? System designed for our entertainment. In the past, we used to have a system this is a legacy system in the hotel, the TV, right? I think it was Hilton that first put TVs in the room, like with cable. And I think they're also innovated by being the first ones to put like color TVs in the rooms and stuff like that, right? So it became such an important component of the hotel experience, right? You go there, and sometimes what you do is, first of all, you turn on the TV, right? Regardless of what's there, and you look at 300 channels, and there's still nothing to watch on TV. You can find your favorite show and stuff like that. So that's a problem, because people would go into these hotels, find these nice HDTVs, and that was before the 4K and the 5K and all the stuff, and they'll say, hey, the image is distorted, or they don't have my favorite channels, and they don't have my favorite show, so I end up watching sports on ESPN or whatever, right? When I can bring with me on my computer, I have movies, I have music, I have all the stuff that makes my life more entertaining, right? So the only thing that prevents me from connecting my own device to this is a cable that I have. And if you go behind of the TVs in the room, you'll find that you can have all you can bring is either a HDMI cable like this, right? Like this thing, you bring it in, you connect your computer to the TV, or a VGA cable. Let's see if I have one here. It's usually the blue one with pins like a serial port. It's this one right here. Typically it's blue, right? So we see them all the time. That's what you need. You connect your computer to that or your phone, and wow, large screen image of your of your small screen. And that's important because certain content was designed, even though it's streamed on small devices, it's still going to be cool to watch on a bigger screen, right? I mean, you try to watch the movie Jaws on the small iPhone screen, you know, the mouth of the shark is like this. It's not scary at all, right? But when you watch it in 52 in your room, the mouth of the shark is like coming out to get you, right? I mean, that's a different experience, right? So the hoteliers decided, hey, we're going to give people more content, but also more freedom. So there are all sorts of partnerships. Like here, if you go to the Hilton here, they have a partnership with DirecTV or something like that, right? So you have all these dish channels. And then different other hotels have, you know, Xfinity and stuff like that, all these services that are really well established. But they started to allow more and more your device to be connected, right? Under a concept called BYO? D. What does it mean? Bring your device. So sometimes they call it BYOC, bring your own content, right? Because most of the time you'll bring a device, but you'll bring it for the content that's on it, right? For the subscriptions that you have, for the software that you have, and so on, right? Especially when you travel as a business person. And now the boundary between the personal and the business use of any device is more blurred, right? I mean, either you have companies that will say, hey, we'll buy you a computer, but it's your personal computer, you can use it. We can see what you're doing with it and stuff like that, so that's fine. Or the company will say, you know, you can buy, we'll give you money to buy your own computer or device, and you can use it for business purposes, right? So the blend is much more blended, I should say, right? So now you come in with with multiple devices, right? We estimated an average of 2 devices, a computer, a phone, plus sometimes you bring a tablet with you. And these devices have content, and there's a question of how you connect them, right? So in this room, we have an Apple TV that we use to connect my iPad and like your phones if you want to the big screen, and you can project it there, right? And so in some of the rooms, they tried with Apple TVs. They deployed some other systems that are similar, right? They created these boxes that are, we call them device agnostic, right? It doesn't matter if you want to connect an iPhone or an Android phone, you'll still connect it, right, wirelessly. And that's really cool because you don't have to bring the SVGA cable or the HDMI cable with you, just connect it because it works. You only have to be in the same network or communicate through Bluetooth, which is now very much the norm. But even better, right? Some vendor said, well, we'll put a smart TV in your room, and you don't have to connect anything to that. You just have to come in with your own credentials from Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or whatever service you have, and you can just log in and you can watch the same thing as you're watching at home, right? So that's, again, another trend in the development is, right? So, and you can have video games, TV on demand, stuff that you normally don't see or don't have access to, again, to enhance this experience. I want to switch back to my other device to talk a little bit about the security of guests. That's really important. So what you see here are basically new generation door locks for the hotels, right? What's still the most prevalent door lock system in the hotels in the United States? The key card, right? The one that has, I mean, these are phasing out, but they have a magnetic stripe, right? What's the advantage of that? Yeah, you put in a wallet, it looks exactly the same standard size, right, like a credit card. It is based on the same principle that credit cards use, right, with the magnetic stripe. You have a number of stripes. You use certain stripes. It's easier to deploy systems that read the stuff. So everything was fine. And, you know, I do research on biometric systems, right, like all the facial recognition, all that stuff, right? It seems to be like really advanced, at least at the time when I was starting to doing that. And I remember I went to a conference and presented to a lot of industry folks, right, IT, CIOs, and so on. So, and then I was presenting the advantages of using something like this, right? When you have a system that provides a significantly higher, more secure ways of authenticating the person coming into the room, right? You don't necessarily lose a biometric. You are the biometric, so you represent the token that allows you in, correct? So I was advocating, and I said, well, I really believe in this, and I think this will happen. The current systems are not entirely the safest ones, and they're costly, right? Every time consumers, forget to return the cards, and they damage, and they get lost, and it's also the issue of inconvenience. They get demagnetized, and you have to rewrite them, and so on, right? And I remember some executives were saying, yeah, but it's just a solution looking for a problem. We're fine with the key cards, right, with the magnetic stripe. And they were fine until someone, they figured out a way to take, you know what an Arduino is? All right, so an Arduino is a small open controller, right? So you use it for controlling gates and curtains and stuff like that, right? So somebody, it's a controller like as big as this, maybe half of this, right? Somebody went online, opened it up, and showed you how to basically rewire some of the wires in there, right? So you play a little bit with hardware, and then you can take it to a hotel room. We connect it to something like a marker, like a Sharpie marker, right? So you put a wire from that into the Sharpie marker, and underneath the door lock, like here somewhere there was an opening, and you can put that marker in there, right? And with the modified Arduino, you can open up any door. They posted that on YouTube, how to do that. No, I mean, that's absolutely amazing. That was a few years ago. And as a result, some people took advantage of that vulnerability, right? They broke into the hotel rooms, and luckily nobody was hurt, but people stole property like computers and valuable items that people had in hotels. And then the hotel industry started to change. I said, well, maybe these magnetic cards, maybe it's time to phase them out. And some of them did, and some of them were replaced with these Bluetooth, like the low energy Bluetooth, or the acronym is escaping, right? I forgot the acronym. The one that NFC, I'm sorry. The NFC types of cars that you have, right? Proximity cars. And now it's common to have a system in the door that you come in with the card and you don't have to insert. It doesn't have a slot. You just put it really close to it, right? And you hear this click, and you know that the door is opening, right? You see the green light, and basically the door is unlocked for you. So that's becoming a more prevalent system. And I think in the future we'll see more and more of these biometric systems where you enroll with your face, right? And you maybe have a camera there that recognizes your face. It also has a feature for liveness detection, so you can't go with a picture of anyone in this class and say, hey, this is Tanika, she's checking in, but in fact it's Christian checking in for her, right? So you can't really do that. Yeah, so smart key locks, safes are really important. People have a sense of safety. A system that is absolutely not mandatory. It's hard to imagine a hotel that doesn't have a Wi-Fi system. This is the number one reason for complaints of customers. They always complain about the Wi-Fi system, right? It's not reliable. I can't access it. It kicks me out. Doesn't have enough bandwidth, and so on, right? And you will see these access points all over the place, right? On our hallways, in our classrooms, and here, all of these systems that from a profile, they look like this, right? Right, with a cord, with pins, and you put it on the side of the device. Oh yeah, look at this, it has it. It's just a small device. It looks like the telephone jack. But it's probably it's probably designed for older folks, this new computer, because most of your devices probably won't have this, right? And it's designed to connect through a wire to a network. Now, to come back to your example, if you connect through a wire, there's nothing to intercept, right? So you'll be a more secure connection if you connect it through a wire. But the disadvantage of that from an infrastructure point of view, you have to run a lot of wires. Everybody says, well, the future is wireless, okay? And it's convenient, but you have to place it strategically. And I remember we talked with Ethan, right? It's difficult to make sure that the signal penetrates properly through all the rooms. And sometimes you see people going like this on the hallways looking for the best signal, right? I mean, that's a consequence of these systems. But remember, people expect to have them. And hotel advertise these services, right? Wi-Fi systems, high-speed Wi-Fi. Sometimes they use tier pricing, right? So come back to your example, right? In the lobby, usually the internet is provided to you for free, right? to entice people to stay there, right? And then you can have another tier of internet service provided with higher bandwidth, faster internet, but you have to pay for it. And sometimes they make it complimentary if you're a member of the loyalty program. So they play a little bit in marketing terms with that. But keep in mind, this is really, really important. And remember, that is the number one reason for people to complain about that, right? People complain about this all the time. Now I'm going to ask the same question. Do you think these phones should stay in the hotel or not? Teleconferencing, right? That's still available, although we can ask the same question with respect to all the systems, right? Are they designed to stay? Can they stay? Are they feasible? Right? So business centers, all these public computers placed, and we have some of them here. You go right across from the desk here, like two Apple iMacs there, right, for the guest to use. I don't want to use those computers. I don't know who has access to them. To come back to your question, I don't know who cleans them, if they're cleaned properly, right? I don't know if they have keyloggers on or something like that. So I stay away from them, right? Not that I don't trust the hotel. I think the hotel has good intentions, but I don't trust that they can actually manage the quality of that particular service, right? So teleconferencing, business centers, and all the stuff, they still exist to some hotels. If they're done properly and they maintain, the systems in a proper way, then in that case, everything should work fine and have value. Signage, right? Signage is really critical. You will see a lot of integration with VR and AR. I've seen, people talking about developing apps where you take the phone, especially in large properties, and they'll say, hey, your room is, 1204. And if you go on the app, we'll show you directions, right? So you take the phone, put it in the camera mode, and then an arrow will be shown on your phone on how to navigate through the property and how to get to your room, right? And you can change that. You can offer the customers an opportunity to go directly to the room or to go through the retail route, right? And say, hey, go by the restaurant and then go by the spa and stuff like that. So you can see multiple offers that you have, right? So that's exciting in my opinion, right? I mean, you can add multiple points of value to these systems.